Let me just say, first of all, you have reason to be concerned about that issue. The taxation and the excessive, oppressive economic issues in terms of debt are a biblical issue. You have 11 grandchildren. Someday you're going to have great-grandchildren. And the fact is that the Ten Commandments are being violated. This is thievery. This is stealing. People living in Washington, D.C. are stealing, literally, from offspring of yours that are not yet born. And that's fundamentally wrong in any culture, including certainly our own. But in terms of what we do, I'd like to believe, James, that we are potentially on the verge of the next Great Awakening. I don't say that just blowing smoke. I really honestly believe there are some indicators that we might be in the precursor of the next potential revival. You mentioned a moment ago the states that have voted on marriage. And even this hostile climate, 31 states have voted on it, and 31 states have voted for traditional marriage with a pass rate of 68%. So 7 out of 10 Americans still care about a fundamental definition of marriage. For the first time in November of a year ago, the nation for the first time became more pro-life than pro-abortion. Inexplicably, it swung 9 points. Never happened in 30 years. So some indications of some kind of a shifting that may be an indicator potentially of the Spirit of God moving within people's hearts and saying, wait a minute, this is wrong. We're getting off course. I live every morning, and I suspect you do too, with the belief that this could be the day for the next Great Awakening. And then secondly, more practical to where all of us live, is we are asking the country to join together, the heads of all ministries, to join together for a 40-day fast, or during this 40-day window, fast as God directs you. During that time, from September 20 to October 30, that puts us right up to the Saturday before the election. I say that out of the historical backgrounding. 2 years ago in the Prop 8 battle in California, the state went on a 40-day fast, tens of thousands. I cannot tell you the impact it had on us. It was staggering. I had never successfully ever come close to fasting that long. I like food. I don't like fast. I found it a glorious time, so much so that even though I love food, the next year on my own, I did a 40-year fast. And that's after years of having failed in this. So I don't say this to lift up myself, but I saw the value of this, and I saw the change, how God is able to move in the midst of that. So we're asking people during this 40-day window to fast however God directs them. That would be September 20 through October 30th this year. Then it's called a Pray and Act time. PrayandAct.com will be our eventual website here. And Pray and Act. Act is three things. A-C-T. A, affirm fundamental values. Stand for what you believe. Know what we believe. I don't think most people understand, for example, Betty, what you talked about. I don't think the average person understands the biblical moral foundations to the inappropriateness of the level of taxation and oppressive economic principles being enacted in Washington, D.C. That's not political. That's moral. That's biblical. It's wrong. It's oppressive.
Well, we've been told as a church we're not supposed to get involved in the
very intriguing.
But
that's right.
That bothers me.
Matthew 28 says, go into all the world except politics. That's the way it reads. Have you read it? Well, some people read it that way. Go into all the world except education. Oh, stay away from secular education. Go into all the world except Hollywood. Don't go into, stay away from there. Now, that's the way we've read the text. And pretty soon we've bought into that. And now, guess what? They've got us now to we're just in the four walls of our church. Right. And they're now trying to make us illegal for what we say there. So it says go into all the world to disciple ethnos, disciple nations. So we need to know what we believe. I want to encourage everybody to go to manhattandeclaration.org. It's a brilliantly worded document that talks about the sanctity of life, the sacredness of marriage, and the importance of preserving religious liberties. Brilliantly written, signed by almost 500,000 people. I want to encourage people to go on it to manhattandeclaration.org. So I know what they believe and why they believe it.
I signed it the moment it was written, and I told Ravi Zacharias, who was a part of it, I signed it. I said I'd sign it with my blood. And one of the last things it says in there, and it's fabulously written. It's like it's as close to being inspired as anything outside the Bible.
I agree.
It's similar to the Constitution in its authenticity and its authority. But one of the things they say, we as the believers will render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, but we will never render unto Caesar what is God's. And
That's
Caesar
right.
is asking us to render it. Now, so you said we need to affirm what we believe. Go ahead. Now, you took the A act.
Yes.
The A was affirmed.
Affirm our values. Then C is conform. Conform our lives to what we say we believe. Here's a classic example. It's a painful one to talk about. In Prop 8, the homosexuals would say to us, You guys are trying to defend marriage. We're not your enemies of marriage. You're your enemies of marriage by virtue of divorce. It's not us trying to get, a few of us wanting to get married as gays that's going to harm your marriage. It's what you have done with 50% of your people in your churches getting divorced. And they're right. We're defenseless on that one. And so we're trying to say, let's make sure we conform our lives with that which we said. I met with a leader of Planned Parenthood one day, not because I liked what he did. In fact, I think what he does is awful. But I said to him, teach me how to relate to a guy like you. I don't know how to relate to a guy like you. So give me an hour of your time and show me how to relate to somebody like you. In the midst of the talk, he said a jolting statement that really was tough on me. He says, who do you suppose is coming to our abortion clinics? He says, people from your evangelical churches. What he was saying is we say we're against abortion, but then our college age and high school age daughters get pregnant, and we go over there. And he was saying you're not conforming to what you say you are. So that second one is let's conform. Even to the point of if we say we believe these values, and they're biblical values, then do not vote for somebody who will not stand for those values. It makes a nation self-destruct. And then the third one is transform. So it's affirm, affirmation, conformation, and then transformation. At that point, what does it take to bring a restoration of values to this nation on which we were founded? And I want to encourage people that they cannot simply focus on getting through every day and paying the bills and taking care of their families. They have a civic responsibility to rise up and select those areas where they can give themselves. It may be, for example, a federal marriage amendment. Work with that. Or if they're troubled by the thievery that's going on, stealing from future generations, a balanced budget amendment, or whatever will give legislative teeth to help put in moral values that preserve this wonderful nation that we have had. So affirmation of the values, confirmation of our lives, conformity of our lives, and finally, commit to a transformation strategy. Let God give us a transformation strategy of how do we shape this culture.
Jim, for some time I've been saying to our audience, and on jamesrobinson.net, I've been writing editorials and commentaries on what I see as areas of common concern. And one of the things I've said to our viewers, and just asking you as a pastor if you confirm what I believe, if the church doesn't stand up today and be the church that prevails against the gates of death and destruction and the light that pierces the darkness, if we don't stand up, freedom as we've known it will step down. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. We've been on this walk for 40 years now. We've been circling the desert for 40 years. We either get out or we are destroyed. It's a critical moment. And there are probably some who get beaten back and told, says, no, you can't speak out. We have every right. In fact, we have an obligation based on Romans 13. We have an obligation as followers of Jesus to be politically involved. We have an obligation before Christ to speak out on moral biblical issues. We're conscripted into this. This is not something we can opt out of.